Here's your host, Rod Khleif.
Welcome to another edition of Lifetime Cash Flow through Real Estate Investing. I'm Rod Khleif, and I'm thrilled you're here. And I know you're going to get tremendous value from the gentleman I'm interviewing today. He's my friend Ricky Carruth. And if you don't know who Ricky is, he is a top shelf real estate agent. He's done $500 million in sales, but he teaches other agents how to kill it in the real estate space. And you're wondering, well, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about a lot because he's building multifamily. He's great at sales. He's great at marketing. He's got a kick-ass Instagram account. And so there's a lot of things we can talk about that'll add value to you, regardless of if you're doing single family or not. So welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah, of course, man. So, why don't we start, like most people start, and just kind of give us a little background on who you are and expand on, what I just said.
Yeah, absolutely. So I live in Gulf Shores, Alabama, right on the beach.
Nice.
So you've seen pictures of it, right? At you saw my talk at WealthCon.
Right. No, I wasn't in the room for it.
Got you. So yeah, I showed a picture of Gulf Shores. So it's basically, it looks like Sarasota on the beach.
Nice.
The difference is, like, on the beach, it looks about the same.
Right.
But then right off the beach, it doesn't look like Sarasota. Sarasota has a downtown area and other tall buildings and stuff. And we don't really have that. We just have the tall buildings basically right on the beach.
What's inland? I know you've got some refineries and things like that up there, don't you?
It's there's not a whole lot, honestly.
Okay.
It's growing big time. There's some really incredible schools. We have an outlet mall. There's a huge amusement park they just built.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
There's a lot of stuff coming, but it's like, let's see, every little beach town, there's Gulf Shores, there's Orange Beach. Those are both in Alabama. Then the next town is Perdido Key in Florida.
Oh, no.
So it's right on the Florida-Alabama line.
Gotcha.
Then you've got Pensacola Beach.
This is the poor man's Riviera, right?
I don't know if it's.
No,
I don't know.
That's what they called it. That's what I heard it called on the Panhandle.
Yeah.
I've been to Panama City and oh God, what's that town that they did the oh God, what was that movie where they had the little town and they videoed.
There's Mexico City. There's
Palms Beach.
There's Navarre. There's
there was a movie. There was a movie where they filmed this kid growing up through the movie, and he was in this enclosure. And I was just trying to think who the actor was. Anyway, never mind. But it was up there in one of those towns.
Yeah.
But those beaches are gorgeous, at least in the Panhandle. I mean, they're wide, they're white.
Yeah.
Just absolutely.
It's white
gorgeous.
powder sand.
Yeah.
So people don't realize Alabama has beaches.
Yeah. And
like
you got
that.
beaches like that over there too?
Yeah.
Like they have now.
Oh
Wow.
yeah. It's all the same beach.
Nice.
So the Florida beaches run into Alabama a good
Gotcha.
40 miles. So we got about 40 miles of those white sandy beaches.
Wow.
And it's always been a really small town. So it's still about, between both towns, Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, it's still about 25,000 population.
Wow.
But we've got 8 million visitors every year that come through.
So a lot of Airbnb and so on and so forth there. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
So it's an interesting market because it's small town on the beach. It's nice. It's cool to live there. And there's this massive market of, vacation / investors that come down and from all over the country that buy these Gulf front condos and houses and stuff. And so that's the market I got into.
Got it.
So I grew up roofing houses with my dad.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he owned a roofing business for 30 years.
My brother owns one, and my boy was just here, and he works for him, and they had hail up in Denver, and he's like made $100,000 a month for the last 2 months. So, because insurance pays for the roofs.
Yeah,
but
we chased storms and stuff.
Yeah.
For a little while here and there, but I grew up doing that, and then
that's real work.
That has a lot to do with where I'm at now.
Yeah, that work ethic.
Yeah, I mean,
I said, I just got this brand new roof on my compound here. You probably didn't notice because they just cleaned everything out, but brand new roof.
It's a tile roof.
Tile, yeah. They just finished it literally a few days ago.
Wow.
And they have to come in and polish it
I did
off.
notice it.
Yeah,
I did notice it looked pretty good.
Yeah, it's brand new. Yeah, it's as good as it's ever going to look. Hurricane Ian was good to me. I got the roof. I get painting. I'm getting all new pavers. It's going to look like a brand new place. But
so this is how far are you from Fort Myers?
About 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
So
where it
not
hit
far.
hard. Yeah, that's where it hit hard.
And then between here and there is Venice.
No, there's Venice, and then there's Port Charlotte.
Okay.
Now, I used to be the largest single-family homeowner in Port Charlotte. I had about 360 houses there when Charlie hit. Talk about a freaking nightmare.
What year was that?
Oh God, I'm bad with dates, but it
was in the 80s, 90s.
It would have been in the
2000s,
90s, I think.
90s.
The 90s, yeah. But it was that would talk about a shit show. I mean, it was the most complex logistical thing I ever had to deal with.
I bet.
360, they were all damaged, every single one of them. But you know what was interesting, and I don't want to get back to your story. I don't want to steal your thunder here, but what was interesting is, the building codes and standards really make a freaking difference. Because I would have houses that were built in the 60s that would have the whole garage blow away, the whole roof blow away. Literally, I had one guy that was in his living room and everything from the ceiling line blew away. So it was just daylight everywhere. And he was hiding under his couch. And but that would be next to a 80s built house that had a few shingles missing. I mean, it was astounding to see what a difference building codes make for hurricanes. But yeah, I had a huge, almost $1 million settlement here on my compound, so I'm getting redone. But of course, insurance has gone through the freaking roof in these coastal towns well, because of this.
Yeah.
But
I had, I don't know, when Hurricane Sally hit us maybe a couple years ago, I had at that time I was at about 20 something properties. Mm-hmm. All of them got hit. Yeah. I had to put roofs on half of them, and I had to pay for all of it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, because the insurance adjusters go in there and they'll say, okay, it's this much damage, right? Okay, the whole roof's totaled. All right. It costs $12,000 to re-roof this house. All right. Your deductible is $3,500. Your roof was X amount old, so we're going to depreciate the $10,000 or whatever. So
you didn't get a public adjuster to help you?
A public adjuster?
Yeah, public adjuster. You would have. Those of you listening, if you ever have an insurance claim of any consequence, hire a public adjuster, because what a public adjuster does is they fight the insurance companies and they do their own estimations, and they always make you money. Yeah. I had a public adjuster down in Port Charlotte, and we actually had to sue the insurance company, but here in this compound. Hired a public adjuster, paid him too much. I paid him 10%, but he absolutely made me money. Like, we just had a fire in my Nashville asset, 20 units, and I've got a kick-ass public adjuster there that is absolutely getting our estimate up from the insurance company. They almost always pay for themselves and then some. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So it's no fun dealing with insurance companies, and if you ever have big claim, get help. But shop the public adjusters, because some of them aren't any good and some of them are. We had a tornado destroy 101 units up in Beaver Creek, Ohio, a complex I have up there. And we had an awesome public adjusting company up there as well that rebuilt all 101 units, literally. But anyway, so keep going with your story, man.
Yeah, and that's good information to know. But anyway, I got in real estate. I had a scholarship, football scholarship to Missouri Valley College. I went there for a semester. It's too far away. It was like 20-hour drive.
Oh, wow.
So I was like 18. So I was like, I don't want, I went there for a semester, enjoyed it, came back home, went to Alabama for a semester, failed a history class, and I was like, I'm out of here.
Really? That was it, huh?
College just wasn't my thing. I made all A's and B's in high school, sleeping. I mean, I was the guy in class with my head down on the desk. It was just easy for me because I could absorb the information and the tests were easy. But in college, especially a history class, they're just up there lecturing, and I'm just like, what is this guy talking about?
Right. And what's it gonna do for me in any way, shape,
unless
or form?
you just love history,
right?
I told that to a guy last night at dinner, and he's like, "Well, I'm a history major." And I'm thinking, good gosh, this guy is very interested in history, which it's good to be interested in history. Just wasn't my interest. I was more focused at the time, just like now. I'm just more focused on trying to be productive. And I felt like that was more of a, curiosity, entertainment, if I want to know this kind of thing. It's almost like watching a Netflix movie to kind of learn history.
67% of the people that go to college never use their degree for anything. In fact, it might even be more than that. And then of course, there's that statistic that what is it? 80, 90% of the people out there have less than 10,000 in savings, and the people that go to college have huge student loan debt, and college isn't really helping a lot of people. I mean, if you're doing a technical role like an engineer, dentist, doctor, something like that, college is great. I didn't go to college.
Well, you got to go to college to be a doctor, lawyer, etc.
Right.
But it's nowadays, I mean, it used to be you had to have a career worth anything. Now, you can pretty much do just about anything you want to do, learning off of
thought leaders like you and I. I mean, I have a picture that I show where I've got my arms straight out, and I've got lanyards, hundreds of lanyards around my neck and on my arms from boot camps and masterminds and events that I've gone to over the years, and that's my college. And you saw my library downstairs. I've got thousands of books. I'm very well read. College wasn't the right thing for me, just like it wasn't for you, but we're both super successful because we have work ethic. We knew what we wanted, and we just went after it, right?
I still continued to read. I read, I read, I write. I'm always trying to learn and everything. But
you wrote a couple books, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wrote 2 books in 17. I'll get to that. I got in 2002 selling real estate. I dropped out of college, and I was like, I'm gonna go be a real estate mogul. So I got my license. I quit roofing. I was like, see you, Dad.
Right.
Got in the office full time for 30 days, sold 0, said, hey, Dad, I'm back. Went back to roofing.
Did you?
Yeah, doing that at the same time. So it took me 8 months to get to my first deal. Then I started clicking to a month, left the roof, went full time, made a lot of money because the market exploded.
When was this?
02, 03, 04. The market it did a lot. It was real similar to what just happened in 21 and 20 and 21. But 2021 was, to me, a lot more violent than the market was a little more violent than 02, 03.
Buffett's famous quote, be fearful when others are greedy. A lot of greed the last couple of years. And now the fear's coming. Be greedy when others are fearful. I think incredible opportunities coming, right? But
Absolutely. But I started flipping houses. There were guys 30, 40, 50.
Where were you doing this? In the same place?
Gulf Shores. Okay, I was in my early 20s, and there were guys 40, 50, 60, flipping houses, and I was like, okay, here's some money. So I would start flipping houses.
Nice.
And I made millions, and I had about $2 million worth of debt, that I got caught with when everything. No, it was actually 05. 05 is when the market actually started coming down. People think 08. It's actually 05 is when prices leveled out and started coming down slowly. And, if you watch the movie The Big Short.
Great movie. Very accurate, too.
Yeah, it was. I lived it.
Yeah, me too.
But the guys that were calling it, they were betting on, they were shorting the market. And, the bonds that they were shorting against on the mortgages that they knew were bad, they were still doing well, even after things turned, right? So in 05 is actually when the market started turning, and the guys were like, why aren't we making money? The market's the prices are going down. We're starting to see defaults. Why isn't our bet paying off here? And it took it was because Wall Street was padding it. They were doing everything they could to try to act like this wasn't happening.
Really?
They were doing what they could do to manipulate to keep everything to where it looked like everything
that was
okay.
Going on. Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't. This is news to me. I lost $50 million in 2008 and 9. I got crushed. I had 800 houses and got crushed. But of course, I wasn't paying much attention. I was recently single, and I was in South Beach like an escaped convict with the condo and the Lamborghini. It was a shit show. So I didn't have my eye on the ball at all. But when 08 happened, it was like, to me, it was like a light switch.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like I couldn't sell my whole portfolio for 30 cents on the dollar. I couldn't give it away.
Yeah. Well, that's when everything kind of came out, right?
Yeah.
That's when it was like a publicly known.
Right.
I mean, like
Lehman,
real estate prices
collapsed.
have been coming down for years before that. But nothing really happened with the stock market or anything because Wall Street manipulated that situation as long as they could until they just couldn't anymore. And then because of that, it crashed even harder.
Interesting. I did
But
not know
yeah,
that. Okay.
yeah. If you go back and look at a graph of just home prices, you know, it
You can
topped
see
out
it?
in '05, and then it went down all the way to 2012.
Wow.
So I sold my last condo January '05, and of course I had all that debt from all the houses I was in the middle of flipping. So I got caught there. I bleeded out my savings just trying to hang on to everything,
Yeah, me
thinking,
too.
well, everybody was saying this, give it a couple months, give it 6 months, a year, whatever.
So you weren't able to flip, in other words. You had you had inventory you couldn't sell.
Right. I was
Gotcha.
flipping, and I would buy 2 more, I would buy 4 more, and I kept flipping. And
So you had a little implosion?
when everything turned, I could basically sell. I sold off most of what I had just for what I owed.
Oh, good. Well, at least you got out of it.
Yeah, and there were a couple that I did have to let go back to the bank, foreclose on. But then I was like, "Hey, Dad,
You're back.
I'm back. Yeah.
Give me a hammer."
Go back to the roof.
Oh,
that
geez.
was '05, and
That's humbling, isn't it?
It was.
That's really humbling. I will tell you. I tell a story at my boot camps where I was flipping houses, making a lot of money. I lived in what would be about a $2 million house now. I had a Rolls Royce. I had a Pantera, which is a Ford Exotic, gorgeous cars. I had a Corvette, and I lost everything. And I had to go paint houses to have enough money to eat. And I remember my mom bringing me a bag of groceries because she was worried about me. So I went from Rolls Royce to mom bringing me freaking groceries. I remember having a meltdown. It was like, fuck this. I'm going to get back on my feet and make it happen. But
yeah, I went back to roofing, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do?
Right.
I filed bankruptcy. I had some things I had to kind of get out from under me. And then
I should have, by the way. I didn't, and I should have when I lost.
I let everything go. I had nothing. Yeah. There's only 2 things I continued to pay for: my cell phone, because I wanted to keep my number, and my real estate license. I kept my MLS fees. That's the only 2 things. I didn't pay car insurance, payments, rent, utilities, nothing.
Right. So how long did you suck it up in the roofing before you're like, screw this, I need to go back or do something else?
Well, that was '05 and '06, and then in '07, the entire year from basically January to January of '08, I got a job on an oil rig.
No kidding.
Yeah, in Mississippi. Wow. I was driving there from Alabama.
Out there on a rig?
On a rig.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was living, and it was cool because I was actually sleeping on friends' couches and sleeping in my car.
Wow.
So when I got the job on the oil rig, it was cool because it was kind of like I had not only this job that was going to pay me $5,000 a month,
right,
working every other week. So I had a week off. So I'm only working half the time, making $5,000.
Wow.
I also had a place to live for a week, and on my weeks off, I figured, well, this is a way for me to get back into real estate because if I got a whole week in between,
sure, you got time,
my work weeks to kind of like start really trying to figure out how to get back into the market. It didn't quite work out like that because,
well, the timing wasn't good.
Well, when you work on the oil rig, it actually was good.
Really?
When you work on an oil rig, though, when you come back home, you're completely
wiped
shot
out.
for it takes you 3-4 days to recover because you're working 12-hour days.
Wow.
And every other weeks, you're working either 6 to 6 at night for the whole week or 6 to 6, all day.
Oh,
so
they're 24 hours?
It's not 24, it's 12, but you're either working from 6 to 6 during the day, 6 in the morning till 6 at night, and then you go home for a week, and then the next week you come back, you'll work from 6 at night till 6 in the morning.
Oh, God, no.
So you're messing up your sleep schedule, right? And so you're just all discombobulated.
Oh, I get it.
Every time.
I just got off that boot camp, and I'm at about 70% now. And what is it? Today's Friday, and it ended on Sunday, so I feel you. So you weren't able to work the real estate?
I wasn't like I thought I would. I did mess around with it and stuff. What I realized in '07 when I was on the rig was there was this guy that mentored me in the beginning in '02. And I realized in MLS he sold 30 properties in '06. And '06 was a really bad year, for us.
Right.
Beachfront condos, it's a luxury.
Sure.
It's the first thing that people let go of when things
something
are going.
You want, not something you need.
Right. It's the first thing. It's not primary home. It's not a necessity. They let it go. It's the first thing they let go, and it's the first thing. It's the last thing they buy as things get good. Right.
Interesting. Yeah.
So we were kind of the first. Our market, a second home, vacation market's really going to be the first to really feel.
You were like the canary in the coal mine kind of a thing then, really.
Right.
Which is, see, because I didn't feel it at all, because rent stayed stable. I had stopped buying because I thought it was too high at that time. It's not now compared to what you pay now. It's not even the same planet, but interesting. So you were kind of, you actually saw it probably before other people did because of where you were.
Yeah. Okay. I think absolutely.
That makes sense.
So it kind of hit us a little differently, a little earlier. But even when you look at national home prices, they still topped out in the beginning of 2005 and tapered down. It was just such a slow, gradual decline. It's like how home prices go up and down every year. If you look at national home prices, they do this every year. Summer they're up, fall they come down. It's a stair step. They're, the next low is higher than the last low. The next high is higher than the last high. But they still fluctuate through the year, right?
Now, I've seen some of your posts on social, and you're still bullish that. Well, tell me what you think's going on with home prices right now. I'm sorry to derail your.
They're
your
pretty.
bio
They're pretty leveled.
They're leveled right now. So they're flatlined. Flatlined.
Pretty much.
Okay.
I think. I mean, they're higher. I mean, there's data. There's, just about every real estate data company has us up on the year over year, like August to last August or whatever, we're up like 2% or whatever the case may be. But when you're looking at medium home prices and you're looking at average home prices, it's just like, and that's averaging all the markets.
Right.
And then
so there's some markets that are different than others, obviously. Right?
Of course. And then you've got different sectors in the market, high-end luxury and then low-end stuff. And there's just so much stuff. So it's kind of hard to say, okay, this is where it is.
Elon Musk had a quote where he said, commercial real estate is what's going to cause this recession, but residential will follow after that. So that's his opinion. That's a direct quote.
From a guy that doesn't own a house.
Well, okay. Fair enough,
or is that
but
in
he
the
is a pretty smart guy. You got to give him that.
Or is it in the real estate, industry? But yeah, he's a really smart guy.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
We'll see. It's kind of like one of those things, throw a quote out there. If it comes true, you're a genius.
Yeah, well.
Okay, if it
fair
doesn't,
enough.
then
So you heard that quote.
Who cares?
So you were ready for it. You heard that one. Yeah.
I heard it.
Yeah.
I mean,
you don't agree.
Well, it's two different sectors.
Yeah.
I mean,
agreed.
It's two different sectors with completely different financing terms.
Agreed.
I mean,
with that.
Commercial is more of a floating, 5-year.
Well, some of it's floating.
Some of it.
We do conforming debt that's
more of it
debt.
than
Well, that's
residential.
what's going to cause the crash is the floating. Okay,
Yeah.
That's the bridge debt. So
Right.
it's going to cause a problem for operators in the commercial real estate.
And then in the
space.
commercial, right, you've got the huge office.
No, that's a train wreck. Right
Yeah,
now.
right. You got the warehouse. You got the small office. Like I buy 2,000 square foot office buildings.
Well, those are great.
They're amazing.
No, those are fantastic.
I mean,
you like talking like where you've got a little office in the front, you've got a warehouse in the back. Yeah, those are fantastic.
Those or I've got a couple that are commercial duplexes, just 1,000 square foot on each side.
Nice.
I've got one that has like a really small little warehouse, almost like a little storage unit, and then about 1,700 square foot of heated and cool offices and stuff.
They call that flex space, right? Is that what they call that?
Well, I rent it out to one company.
Yeah, no, but I where it's flexible, where you can expand the office or put in more warehouse and stuff like that.
It was actually a warehouse. The whole
Okay.
back of it, half of it was a warehouse,
Right.
and I finished it out as
Okay.
offices.
Gotcha.
To add more heated and cooled square footage, and then I left
I've never done any of that, but I really like it, and I know it does really well. Yeah, I mean, forget office right now. Geez, I think the office occupancy in the country is like 70%. And I mean, we're going to see massive defaults. And here's the problem: a third of that debt is with small and regional banks. So we're going to see more bank failures too, for sure. And then you've got bridge debt, which is collapsing right now. Man, I've seen some huge world-class operators that are in deep shit right now. I mean, they're having real problems. I just saw an article in Real Page on somebody I really had a lot of respect for. I'm not going to throw it out here publicly, but man, I knew that he was in trouble. I saw him at WealthCon at Grant Cardone's thing. He came up to me. He's like, "Yeah, I've got 13 assets that are in trouble right now," and he was freaking. And he just had one go back to foreclosure. I just saw that in Real Page a couple days ago. So I mean,
but back to Elon's quote, right?
Yeah.
My point is that space, commercial space, is completely different animal than
Agreed,
this.
but if it starts a bank collapse and it starts a stock market collapse, it to me it could very well be a domino thing.
That could bleed into
unemployment, and
it could bleed into
Right.
into the housing market, right?
Yeah.
But the
I think
housing
that's what he's
market,
thinking,
the
yeah.
housing market itself is fundamentally
Strong.
incredible.
Yeah, and there's a
right?
huge pent-up demand too, especially if the rates come back down.
Well,
right?
I mean, here's the thing, okay? There's so many people who own a house who want to badly move,
Right.
but they can't.
Right.
What do you call that? Pent up demand.
Right.
And that group is growing every day.
Mm-hmm.
And out of that group every day, their desire
Explain
to
why they can't, just in case someone doesn't
well,
understand.
they're sitting on 3 or 4%
Right.
mortgage right now.
Right.
If they go buy a new home, it's gonna be 6.5 to 7.5. They're gonna literally double their mortgage rate
Right.
just to move, and
Yeah.
it might not even be that they can't.
They don't
Okay,
want to.
they don't want to.
Right.
You know, most of them can financially,
Mm-hmm.
but why would you want to go from a 3 to a 7?
Yeah.
And so this group of people who own houses, they have these what they call, golden handcuffs, right? It's a like we don't even realize it. And the next thing is first-time home buyers. We have no earthly clue. We're clueless when it comes to understanding the amount of first-time home buyers that are just sitting there that haven't even said anything because of interest rates. In 1990, there was such a spike in birth rates. If you look at a 50-year birth rate, chart, there's a spike that's massive in 1990 that stays at that level for a good decade and a half, all the way to 2006 or so. If they're born in 90, that means they're 33. Right, the average age of a first-time home buyer is 33 to 36.
Is it? Okay.
So we're looking at this massive group of 33-year-olds, right, this year, and these people want to own homes. You see these headlines saying, Gen Z and millennials, and
they want to rent and stuff.
Yeah, they
You
don't
see that
want
a
to buy
lot.
homes.
Right.
They're just and
Right.
then you read the article and you look at the data, and it's literally got like 12, 13%, and they'll have it with the different. It'll be like this, 13% Gen Z, 13% millennials,
right.
and whatever don't want to own a house. And I'm thinking, well, okay, that's 12% that don't. What about the 88%? What about the other 88%?
Right.
Do they want to? Yes, they do. See,
But the problem is, you could get a 3% loan 18 months ago, and now the mortgage is double.
Yeah.
And the prices haven't gone down to justify that doubling in mortgage.
But the
payment.
longer the rates stay up, that
more demand.
that retracts these transactions and restricts the market, the more demand is going to be, the more demand is building, and it's going to just be that bigger of an explosion when it goes the other way. So through first-time home buyers and sellers, it's just, we don't even like it's nothing. We've never even seen anything like this. And what's going to happen is that the trade up seller, they'll list their home, okay, which adds to inventory and the new listing, but they're also going to take a home off the market as they upgrade.
Right.
They're going to buy,
Right.
they're going to sell, they're going to buy,
So
which is going to be a net even
Right.
for active listings.
Right.
And then the first-time home buyers are going to come in and take one off, which would be a net negative for active listings. So what is that scenario going to do to the market? We're going to have an uptick in new listings. We're going to have an uptick in transactions because of all this stuff happening. But active listings are going to go down, are going to go from bad to worse when this happens. And then
How's the new construction right now? I'm sure you track that as well. I don't pay attention to new home construction. Has that dropped, or is it still?
It's still the same.
Okay.
It seems like, so there was just a report, they just did a report where there were less home starts than we've seen since 2020. But permits are up, over a year ago, but still, down. I think I'm kind of conflicted with that data, because what I feel like is two things. One, yes, mortgage rates being high, and the home builders are probably sitting here thinking, let's not get too crazy here, right? The percentage of new homes being bought is like in a third of the homes.
Because the interest rates.
Which is higher than it has probably ever been, right? And what they're doing, the big home builders, they're buying down the rate. So I just bought 5 D.R. Horton homes.
Did you really?
I bought 5. I closed on
Just to
3. Yeah, I bought 3. I closed on 3. I've got 2 more that I'm closing in the next couple weeks.
They buy down your interest rate?
Yeah. So
Wow.
I got a 5.9 on an investment.
For what period of time?
So 30 year.
They bought it down for
Yeah,
30 years.
all the way.
Wow.
So I've got 5.9 on a 30-year fix.
Where at?
It's in Gulf Shores.
Oh, no kidding.
For an investment property where like I'm buying these for like $300 to $350. They're 4-bedroom. 2 are on a lake.
Nice.
3 are like right across from the street from this new amazing new school they're fixing to build for Gulf Shores Public School. And my payments are like $1,600, and I'm renting them out for $2,400-$2,500 a month. I'm like, give me as many as I can buy.
What kind of financing you get on those? Just curious.
I did 20%
Fannie Mae or
yeah.
Oh, so the Fannie Mae. So you have a limit of like 11 or 12, I think.
I can only do 10.
10. Okay.
I can only do 10. Yeah.
It's been so long since
I think I still see. I buy I buy a lot of stuff cash. And so I've still got like 1 or 2
of those loans left?
of like conventional loans that I can get.
Then you can go to banks though. I mean,
yeah,
banks will do it too.
There's so many different things you can do on top of that. But you get the best rates and stuff whenever you conventional.
Well, I told you we could debate single versus multi, but those sound like good deals. I'm kind of down on single family rentals.
The thing for me on that debate is this: I don't really know where multifamily is right this second.
Yeah.
So when I decided I wanted to kind of start to think about syndication, how to syndicate, learn that game, since I have such a big following, I was like, okay, I could raise some money for some deals.
Come to my boot camp, brother.
Yeah, I should have been there. So I could raise some money easily.
Right.
And so this was 2 years ago or so.
You started thinking about it?
That I really started researching and trying to understand the game. And I didn't want to just jump in. I wanted to really understand everything. And then interest rates started to come up, last March. And then I said, okay, like, I need to be even more patient. So I've just been kind of riding out this little
opportunity's coming, brother.
Yeah, I've just been kind of riding out this little wave, knowing that there's a lot of these multifamily loans coming due over the next year or two.
1.6 trillion in commercial debt coming due by the end of next year.
Yeah,
that 1.6 trillion. I mean, that's a staggering amount.
Yeah,
and a good $500 billion is multifamily.
Right.
And so and those people that have loans coming due have 2 options. They can either sell or they can refinance. Sales are down 80% now year over year, so they're not selling very well. And refinancing is a nightmare because they have to buy the loans down to have have a lender sniff at them because the debt service coverage ratio is not there.
Yeah.
And then forget about rate caps. Rate caps are insane.
Yeah.
I tell a story about a $100 million rate cap in 2020 was $23,000, 3-year 3% rate cap. Now it's $2.3 million for 1 year. I mean, so these they're falling like flies. So there's opportunities. There's gonna be distressed assets. I just started a distressed asset fund. If you're interested in it, text the word partner to 72345 to talk to our team. But I started an opportunity fund, and what's cool about it is the money's going into a interest-bearing account. It's gonna be like 4% interest, and we spread it out. It spreads out over multiple banks, so it stays under the 250,000 FDIC limit. So the money's safe if the bank fails. So there's a return on the money. But I'm starting to stockpile cash. I mean, I'm in a lot of cash personally, but I want to take advantage of what I believe is coming.
Yeah.
And it's good that you waited too. I think.
I'm just being patient. So these new construction homes, it's almost like I got bored, kind of waiting.
Gotcha.
And now I saw these opportunities. I'm like, well, I'll just put some money
you're
here.
Not gonna lose anything.
Yeah,
on those,
I mean, let me put some money here. I mean, as multifamily deals come across my desk, I mean, they do constantly, by the way.
Really?
And I have underwriters, and
do you? Good.
Yeah, we're looking at stuff every day.
Oh, good.
So I've got a group, and we work together, and
nice.
We're looking at deals all the time. So we're just being super patient, and we're just waiting on like those really amazing deals to come through.
Right.
Because what's the point in just, jumping in? The first deal that I do where I take someone's money to do a deal, I want it to be
you want to know
a home run.
And you want to be completely up to speed. And
Yeah.
everything
These
like
deals,
that
a
too.
lot of these deals we see right now are just kind of weird.
No,
you
they
know,
don't make, a lot of them don't make sense.
Yeah,
man.
they're strange.
Yeah,
It's just like how in the world can you even? But anyway,
Yeah.
So long story short, to finish my story up,
Right.
I got laid off from the oil rig.
Oh,
When Obama came in 2008, cut off a lot of the money to the gas companies to drill stuff like that. And the market was crashing. So, gas prices were coming down, and, gas prices went through the roof as the market escalated, and all these gas companies were drilling, like, hey, let's take advantage of this rush. And then when everything started to come down, they drilled less. They were shutting rigs down, laying people off. So I eventually got laid off. And I was the last guy out of 52. There were 52 guys in my position out there on different rigs. And I was the last one of the 52 that they let go. They held on to me as long as they could because I was just out there like a squirrel. I mean, back then, I was like in the best shape of my life. I mean, I was just slinging sledgehammers. And then it actually got to where the drillers, which is kind of like he's kind of like the team leader, if you will, of the crew, right, that's out there. It got to where it was only drillers. Drillers were actually taking my position. They were just getting down to where just drillers on rigs. Anyway, I got laid off, and luckily I went and talked to this mentor that had sold all those properties in 2006. He told me kind of what he was doing. It was just a change.
So when was this?
In 2008.
Oh, wait, gotcha.
January, February-ish of 2008.
Interesting.
Or it might have even been April or March, something.
When things were starting to come unglued.
When I actually got laid off, and luckily enough, I had already been dabbling back in the real estate, and I remember I had 2 closings lined up. It was 2 buyers, and the week before they closed on the same day. And that's kind of crazy too. And this is the first time I actually realized this. That my first closing ever was my grandmother's condo, and I closed on another condo that I had listed, and I closed on my grandmother's condo and that condo on the same day, my first deal. And then when I came back, I actually closed on these 2 deals on the same day. So that I never even thought about that. When I came back in the business, when I started and when I came back, I closed on 2 deals on the same day to get going. But the week before that, I had to borrow $500 from my dad. You were saying you had to borrow some money from somebody or something.
My mom brought me groceries.
Yeah, your mom brought you groceries.
She was worried about me, yeah.
I had to borrow $500 from my dad the week before just to kind of make it through with gas and food and stuff like that. But anyway, 2008 is when I got back in, and it was the easiest thing ever.
What were you doing, short sales and stuff, or what were you doing?
I was representing buyers on foreclosures.
Gotcha.
So I was just putting it out there, hey, look at the beach. Isn't that beautiful? And guess what? It's 50% the price it used to be.
Right.
To have a place here. 50% off.
Right.
And so people were coming out the woodworks to buy these things. I mean, there was 50% off.
Wow.
So
I know financing was challenging back then. Was that a hurdle for you, or were these were
all wealthy people
paying cash?
Right?
Gotcha.
I don't know. Some of them might have been paying cash, but financing wasn't a problem for these people.
Gotcha.
But this was so easy, man. It was incredible. So I made like $100,000 that year. I was making like 45 on the rig, and I double it. Sitting in an office.
This is 08 and 09?
This is 08, yeah. Okay. 2008, I made like 100 G's, and that was my comeback year. And I was like, I was out here risking my life on a rig. I watched people get hurt bad.
Did you?
To sit in an office like we are now, making twice as much money, For me, I have a different perspective, because I've been through the roofing and the oil rig and serving tables and all this stuff. Well, then it was just off to the races, man. And my thought was, let me go represent buyers on these foreclosures. In 3 years, when the foreclosures go away, prices will go up. They'll sell that and upgrade to another. There's 2 more deals. They'll refer 5 people to me who will also upgrade in 3 years and refer more people to me, and so on and so forth. So I kind of understood the game the second time around. The first time around, I was just closing a deal.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what happened.
No kidding.
The first time around, I just was doing a deal with someone and then I never talked to them again.
Right.
They didn't want to talk. They made $200,000.
So you learned how to build the business.
I learned how to build the business. It was a false. The first time around, I was kind of like in this dream world where you didn't have to build relationships. You can make $1 million. And
Well, that's how you grow, man. You learn as you grow. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah. So then I built it the right way. These lifelong relationships with clients, and by 2014, I was selling 100 properties a year. I was the #1 Remax agent in Alabama. I was with Remax for 10 years. And then I was the #1 agent for a long time. I was the #1 agent in my whole market for 8 years in a row. I did 100 deals a year for 8 years in a row, just me and an assistant. I was the buyer agent. I was the listing agent. I didn't have a team or anything. And then in 2017, the first year I made $1 million, that's when I wrote the 2 books. I was like, wow, this is a great story. Let me just get all this on paper and get this out, so people
did your life story in the books?
Kind of, not really. It was more like the business story, not the life story.
Gotcha.
And the first one was kind of like the basics, more of like the storyline. The second
one,
one,
teaching what you learned.
Yeah, the first one was the basics, kind of what like my story more so. The second one was what I learned through the crash, like the fundamentals of what I learned actually from the crash that got me to where I could actually build the business correctly to get to the 100 deals. So I did the 2 books, they took off, and then I started coaching and writing and creating content and everything else.
For realtors.
Yeah, for realtors. And then I just, through that, I became the world's first completely free coach. And my services are still free. The mission is to reduce the failure rate in the real estate industry 1 agent at a time, which we've done massively. I mean, yesterday in Sarasota, I was like, how many people are here are already following me? Which I only expected a couple because of the type of group it is. It's through the board. It's not a Rick. Some of these events I go to are Ricky events where I show up and there's 400 agents. They all follow me, been following me for a long time, and it's a different vibe.
Right.
This event, I didn't figure there would be a whole lot. About half the room was, and half the room wasn't. So it was a mixed crowd. And in the middle of my speech, I said, this is my mission and everything. How many of you here who follow me feel like you wouldn't even be in the business anymore if it wasn't for my content, my coaching, stuff like that? And there were 6 people that stood up, and I was like, wow,
feels good.
Yeah. So I've massively helped people stay in the business and understand, that things I learned through the crash are just that closings happen every day, regardless. Business is unlimited, and you got to kind of put relationships over transactions. When I call a prospect, I'm not calling to try to sell that house or do that deal. I'm calling to use that property as an excuse to see if I can connect with this person and see what it is they want to do and if I can help them do it.
Well, this, by the way, guys, I know that you're like, what does this have to do with multifamily? Well, these strategies are the same strategies you'd use to connect with a seller, same strategies you'd use to connect with a potential investor for your deals. So, this is good content for, what we do. And I know now you're using your money to invest in other real estate asset classes. You said you're in some industrial or warehouse stuff. You're building, you bought some land to maybe build a number of multifamily units.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that, honestly. Yeah. So I've been looking for property. I've put about 4 different pieces under contract with due diligence to see if I could build apartments and how many I could do and stuff. And I've struck out on all of them until now. I've got this 3 acres. It's actually like 2 miles from my house.
Oh, nice.
And it's on this beautiful corner. And, this is right really down the road from where they're building that new school and everything. But, and it's like 10 minutes from the beach.
And it's got the right zoning, or you have to rezone? It's got the right zoning, and you think you can put 38 units on it?
48 is what we're shooting for. It's actually zoned for 60, but we're regulated by how many parking spots we can fit on the property.
Right.
The city was like, we think you can get about 30 there, but an engineer really kind of lays it out and tells you. But the engineer drew it out, and it looks like 2 buildings, 24 units per building, with a pavilion in the middle and a dog walking area, and then all the parking out front. But man, I'm excited about it because
cool.
It's right down the road from my house. It'll be a new building that I'll own.
Nice.
And
how far from the beach would?
It's like 10 minutes from the beach.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So that's what's cool. It's in the Gulf Shores School District, close to the beaches.
Very
but it's still
cool.
kind of off the beach a little, so it's a little bit protected from the storms.
Have you done any building, or is this be new for you?
I've built houses.
Houses.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I've done some.
Yeah, me too.
I've done some houses, but I've never built multifamily. So
are you going to hire a builder, or are you going to
oh,
partner?
absolutely.
You're going to hire one.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Very
I'll
cool.
bring somebody in to
So these will be like 2-story buildings then?
3.
3-story.
Mhm.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's something I'm very interested in doing here in Florida as well, and I just hired somebody to join my CREE Capital team. CRE Capital's CRE Equity Capital is the name of my acquisitions company, and I just hired this really rock star kid that's joined the team to really work Florida hard. You know, and the way I look at Florida right now is if we can find a deal that we can break even on or make a little bit of money on with the insurance the way it is, at some point it's going to settle down. And
You
insurance, I think it will.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll stay high like that. I don't think it can.
That's kind of how I think about really any investment right now in these high interest rate. You know, like just take single family for, you know, or multifamily or whatever. You know, if you buy it in this high interest rate environment and it's cash flowing, right? So like for example, I've got one that's at it's a duplex and it's at like 7.5% on an investment. But it cash flows $600 a month or so. And you think, oh, okay, $600 a month, you know, why are you doing that? We're not getting rich. Well, the thing is that if it's cash flowing in this market, okay, over time, rent's going to go up. It may settle out, it may go down a little, but it'll settle out.
It always goes up.
It'll settle out and it'll increase, you know, 2-3%, whatever. It's going to increase. So that's going to increase your cash flow, but then your monthly payments are going to go down as you refinance in 4 years at 1.5% lower or whatever you do.
Right.
And so your cash flow from this point is going to do nothing but increase, and your expenses is going to decrease. And that gap between your monthly payment and your rent is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger over time. So it's deals are a little harder to find now because of interest rates, but they are out there.
No, they're there if you hunt.
If you find something that cash flows today, wow. I mean,
it's all about cash flow, guys. Don't buy anything that doesn't cash flow.
Oh, absolutely.
So number one, that's why
there was a commercial deal that I wanted, and it was a 5 or 6 cap, and it was like 1.2 mil. It's a commercial duplex, really nice, brand new building. It's got Smoothie King and a coffee shop, and I loved it. But I was going to have to put about $500,000 down just to break even every month on it. So I'm thinking, I get a 0% cash on cash return for $500,000. I'm like, I'm not doing that deal.
No, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, my bare minimum on cash used to be 10. Yeah, I've dropped it some. I'm down to about 8 now. But you know, I
anything over 8 on a cash on cash to me is beautiful.
Right. And by the way, if you don't know what cash on cash return means, it's the amount of money you make every year on the amount of money out of pocket. So if you put $100,000 in a deal and you get $10,000 a year, that's a 10% cash on cash return. And that's one metric. The other metric is called an internal rate of return. And that's the total return you get like over a 5-year period or whatever period you decide to pro forma it on. And that'll include principal reduction on your debt. It'll include the cash flow, and it'll include, of course, you know, what you sell it for, the appreciation you sell it for. But that's the internal rate of return, the IRR. But so where do you think we're headed economically? I mean, do you think it's going to be a shit show, or do you think it's going to be bad, or you know?
I don't know, man. They keep putting a Band-Aid on it. Yeah. You know, I mean,
well, I feel like you're kind of bullish. I just feel that when I see your posts and stuff, you're kind of bullish.
I'm bullish on the housing market.
Okay, because I'm bearish. I think the proverbial shit's about to hit the fan. I really do. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. And the cool thing is what I learned is, I mean, like, it just doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Well, you can make money in any side, in any part of the cycle.
If you know, investors buy no matter what.
Right.
The good ones, and if prices go down, I was telling the agents yesterday in Sarasota, you know, I mean, can you imagine how easy it's going to be to sell real estate if prices go down 20, 30, 40%?
Especially in Florida. I mean, you can't keep people away from Florida here.
It's going to be ridiculously easy to sell real, and if we do see a shit show, that means mortgage rates are going to come down. Yeah. I mean, they're going to have to cut rates if we see something. No, so now you're going to have cheaper prices with cheaper mortgage rates. I mean, it's just going to be
could be opportunity for your demographic for sure. So if you're an agent listening, obviously you need to follow Ricky. He's he has an incredible a ton of free stuff that he does, and
I do trainings every week, you know, prospecting.
So, yeah, go to his Instagram, by the way. That's where he's huge. You got a huge follower, like 300,000 or something.
It's like, I hit 245,000 like 2 days ago. I was like, damn, I'm still growing.
I'm still at 106. I'm pathetic, but yeah, 240. That's awesome, bro.
Yeah. And I'm about to hit 100,000 on YouTube.
Oh, no kidding.
And
wow. Good for you.
And man, I was telling you, like, the freaks were like, I really didn't have much.
We were talking before we started recording about haters, and we talk, because we get haters, and you're a slumlord, or you're just taking people's money. Nobody should own more than one house. I'm like, oh, for God's sake.
They really hate me because I'm out here saying prices are going to keep going up. You better buy now, on houses. So that's
the hate. That's the hate you get. Oh,
they really hate me because they're like, I can't afford, like I can't even buy milk, and you're talking about buying a house. But
yeah, we talked about it. Sometimes I get sucked into it, and I'll try to kick somebody in the butt if they hate on me. And when they hated on Tiffy is when I really got upset. But now I just block them and delete them. It's like, good Lord, it's just it's the thing about haters is they never have more than you do. They're just entitled and or feel terrible about their own lives.
Yeah, most people that talk normally talk about people that's way ahead of them in life.
Hey, thank you. Yeah.
So
yeah, and Tiffy would tell me just ignore them, and sometimes I'd get sucked in and hate on them back for a minute and then delete and block them. But usually I
try to focus all my responding time on the positive comments, trying to show them love.
Mm-hmm. That makes a whole lot more sense. Yeah.
But like you see those negative ones and you're like, man.
Yeah. Cardone says he loves it. He said they've made him wealthy because he gets all that hate.
He probably has the most of anyone I've ever seen.
Right. And I think he just ignores it. And just
even the people that like him, I think, hate on it.
Yeah.
Like it just.
Yeah. No, it's
have you had him on?
Twice. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, he's a funny guy, and I think he doesn't do value add. He buys really high performing, very expensive assets and banks on rent growth. And I saw one of his pro formas, and he had 10% a year for 5 years rent growth. I'm like, I don't think so. And so,
well, it's hard to predict that. I mean, you want to be more conservative on your projections.
10% a year, come on, but we'll see. I mean, he's smarter than I am. He's got a jet and a helicopter. So, but I get a kick out of him. And like I said, I went to his growth con. I paid $20,000 to sit in the front row just because I like to be in the front row, and it was a lot of fun. And it was fun to practically high five Tom Brady when he walked by, and so on and so forth. But anyway, he's a funny guy. I enjoy talking to him. I pissed him off the last time we interviewed, though, because we got a call from a vet, because I took questions from listeners, and the vet's like, should I use my VA to buy a fourplex? And I'm like, hell yeah, because it's no money down. And he's like, no, buy a 16 unit, because he's 10x everything. I'm like, dude,
can you buy a 16 unit with a VA loan?
No,
yeah,
you can't. No, but that was just him. He's like, go bigger, go home. But
right.
I'm like, Grant, dude, it's no money down. If that gets him started, do it. It pissed him off a little. I could see it on his face.
But I mean, you can't even buy a 16. You can only buy a 4
No.
unit.
But in his head, it's like, just don't even bother with the 4 unit. Anyway,
we got to start somewhere.
Thank you.
I mean, that's the thing.
I see it in my students all the time. It's like the law of the first deal. It's the scariest. It takes the longest. It's the most stressful. And they get one. Next thing I know, they have 3. I'm like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
And so,
it's kind of like in today's world, this syndication thing, has become a trending topic, and so you got all these really inexperienced people,
and a lot of them are in trouble,
and they've done these deals at 2 caps and stuff, and now interest rates, and it's not a pretty sight. No. And
even, like I said, even very sophisticated world-class operators that I was super impressed with, like the one I met at the Growth Con, really impressive guy. And like I said, he was just in RealPage, had to give one back to foreclosure, and sad to see, because but a lot of and I've got a couple of bridge loans right now with my ex-partner, and we're having weekly meetings because he's gonna have to suck it up and deal with it. But it's it's very painful on these assets, especially C assets that are struggling.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I won't buy a C asset right now, or C minus for sure. Maybe a C plus I would consider, but because that demographic's getting killed. I mean, I went to the grocery store. I'm like, are you freaking kidding? Because I'm recently kind of single. We shifted our relationship to a friendship, and so I'm buying my own groceries. And I'm like, holy crap! I had no idea how expensive stuff is now, and gas, insane. I don't know how people afford it. People that just work paycheck to paycheck, and so. I'm thinking that I'm certain that the D for sure and the C minus stuff, those people are in trouble. I mean, and I saw an article about 6-8 months ago that 20 million families are behind in their utility bills. And a lot of people are paying everyday expenses with credit cards. What's wrong with that picture, right? Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see.
I think it's the Band-Aid I was talking about. They keep putting on the economy.
Right.
This is the result of that. It's just kicking the can down the road. How long can you kick the can down the road? You know.
Right.
I think we're kind of we've been in an artificial bull market.
Well, that's
for quite a while.
I'm worried about a major reckoning. Because of that. We'll see. They may go to digital currency. May they do? Who knows what they'll do to try to manipulate things if it gets really ugly. But yeah, it's crazy times we're in right now. Between that and the politics and everything else, and we can sit here and talk
I think for
about that
people
all day.
listening, that might hear that and be like, "Oh God, this is scary. That's scary to think about," and stuff like that. If you've never been through a massive shift or a massive economic, downturn and everything, it can be scary.
Sure, it's going to be scary, but the opportunity.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If it's your first go around, then just sit back and enjoy the show,
right?
And kind of just keep your head above water and kind of learn from what happens. If you went through 08, right, then you're ready to roll.
Oh yeah, I'm ready. I got crushed by that wave. I'm surfing this wave, baby.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. Yeah. And I told people at my boot camp, I'm like, if there were ever a time to get up to speed, it's right freaking now, because it's coming. They're coming. The deals are coming, and there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines waiting. But the sweet spot probably for newbies is going to be under 50 units that the money in the sidelines probably has no interest in. So, but there's a lot of deals in that price range.
In the housing market, back in the 40s, there was about a 5-year double-digit appreciation run, and everybody said it's going to crash. Prices are up too high on affordability, the whole 9 yards.
This is after the baby boomers bought all those houses back after World War II.
Yeah, exactly. It was a 4 or 5 year double-digit. 5 years of double-digit, 10 or more % increase, national home prices. And guess what? Home prices didn't go down. Any time after that, we fast forward to the late 70s when mortgage rates went up to 19%. There were 6 big years. 4 were double-digit, right? 2 were almost double-digit. 6, it was a run of 6 years. That next year, after that last double-digit year, 7%. Then 5, then 4, then 10 again, then 8. I mean, even if you bought at the peak.
There were dips, though, but it continually trended up.
That's what I'm telling you. Every single year. See, this is what people don't realize until these headlines start happening and people start really looking at it with a magnifying glass, is that every year the prices go down.
Sure.
If you look at national home prices, look at a chart. Right? Look in your market, look anywhere, local, national, whatever. You see prices go up and down every single year.
But they trend up.
They trend up.
Let me give you an example of kind of a cool example of, I had 500 houses in Denver at one time that are rented long term. Boy, I wish I had those now, man. They'd be free and clear.
Ooh, they'd be worth a lot.
I would be bottom line netting $1 million a month right now. But anyway, woulda, coulda, shoulda. But there was a house on 30th and Federal in Denver that I bought for $56,000, threw a garage up and sold it for $76,000. Okay, I flipped it. Then the market crashed. Okay, I bought that same house back for $18,000. Okay, same house, 76 to 18. I kept it for a few years and I sold it for $160. Okay, the area gentrified. It's worth $1 million now.
Right.
So, I mean,
right.
that's just one house that I was aware of. There are a few of them that I bought back like that. I sold one for 56, bought it back for 12, but they still continually trend up. I mean, those are anomalies. But
my point is that even if you bought something at the peak of even in '08, back in the 2004 and 5, if you bought at the peak of '05, when prices peaked out beginning of '05, you're still up right now.
Yeah. No,
Did it go down? That was the worst real estate crash ever. Prices are down 50%, but you're still up right now if you'd have kept whatever you had long term.
Agree completely.
Now this housing crash, this is a crash. We're going to have about the same amount of transactions this year as we had in '08.
Really?
Yeah, we're at 4.3 million is what we're looking at existing home sales, and we had 4.12 million in '08. Right? It's identical.
No kidding. Interesting.
Right? It's pretty much the same. This is a crash.
Interesting.
I'll say crash on social, and people are like, "What crash?" And they're talking smack because they're thinking prices. I'm not talking about prices.
Just
transactions.
Volume.
But this crash, because that's what this is not. It's more comparable to the late '70s.
Interesting.
Not '08. '08 was a mortgage meltdown, subprime lending.
Right.
This is solid lending. 45% of houses are owned free and clear.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. And 30% of all sales now are cash.
Interesting.
Right. Which is up.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
That.
I mean, well, think about it. I mean, would you want to pay 8% or you pay cash?
Sense.
Right. Let's pay cash. We're just in a very super healthy market. So back in the '70s, inflation went up. When inflation went up to 9% last year, they said it's the highest in 40 years. When was that? '70s.
Right.
That everything is compared. The delinquencies right now for homes is the lowest it's been since '79, which is exactly when all this is happening. Back then, people didn't want to, upgrade to something else or whatever because they didn't want to double their mortgage rate. Same as now.
Yeah.
It's all just eerily similar to back then.
Yeah. Well, we had a crash back then, and when I bought all those houses in Denver, and I mean, I was buying houses in Denver but this is crazy. Back then, FHA loans were going south, and an investor could buy FHA foreclosure for $500 down. Wow. And they'd finance it. And VA was doing 5% down, and I was a broker, and I got a 6% commission. So I'm like, hey, buy this freaking house. I'll throw the commission in, and I bought tons of houses that way too with partners, 50-50. It was incredible back then. I mean, of course, it'd be fun if that ever happened again, but not likely. But yeah. No.
Well, my point with this is back then people said, oh, it's going to crash and stuff like that as far as prices go. Yeah. But they never did. Right. They slowed down appreciation. Right. But they still were clicking along at a good 4 or 5% a year and never had a negative year until the early 90s. There was a slight little dip then. But when I'm comparing now's housing market to the 70s, my question is, even if we do see this, Armageddon of the economy, what is that going to do to home prices? Will it actually affect home prices? Because
temporarily it will.
Well, back
but not long term.
Every year they temporarily get affected. Right.
Okay.
Back then, I mean, I had a good one. You threw me off there for a second. Sorry. Sorry. But oh man.
Well, here's the thing, though. Yes, they go back every year, but if we have an Armageddon, they're going to go way down like they did in 08 and 9. But they'll come back after a few years.
Well, but here's the difference. Back then, there were 2 to 3 million listings at any given time.
Okay.
You got 500,000 right now.
No shit.
500,000.
I know that. Wow.
In the 80s.
Wow.
In the 80s, okay, when there were way less population and way less houses that even existed, okay, there were 2 to 3 million active listings at any given time.
No kidding. Okay.
It never got below 2 million.
And right now you're at 500,000.
In the 80s.
No kidding.
Okay. And right now we're at between 500,000 and 600,000 in the whole country for sale. Okay. So with interest rates going up to 7.5%, we're at the place where only people that have to buy and sell are doing deals. Right. You're not doing a deal because you want to. Even the people that want to aren't doing it. It's only if you have to, okay? And investors. Right? So if the market dips, if Armageddon, the economic Armageddon happens, then are people that have to buy and sell not going to? No, they're still going to because they have to.
Right.
And so with the lack of inventory, and the inventory is going to go from bad to worst, and you might think, well, then we're going to see foreclosures, and then we're going to see,
I think so. If the market really gets ugly, I mean, just economically in general.
Well, in 2008, we had 4 million listings. It was 2 to 3 million in the 80s, but then in 2008, when the crash happened, we had 4 million. So it would have to be some really wild situation to get us from 500,000 to 4 million.
Yeah.
To create this scenario, right?
One thing I did hear though, Ricky, is I had a litigation support company, and so we helped people in foreclosure. I built law firms in 5 states. We'd stop the foreclosure with litigation, and then we'd help them modify their loans, help thousands of families save their homes. But I sold that business a few years ago, and I guess there's a pretty big backlog of foreclosures right now. And so who knows how big that is, and chances are those houses will be able to be sold because they still have equity in them because the prices have gone up so much. But there's a bunch of foreclosures still coming down the pike because they had that moratorium, and it takes mortgage companies a long time to get their paperwork in order and get these foreclosures.
Well, we need
going.
them,
yeah,
right? Because we got more 33-year-olds than we've seen in 2 decades.
Fair enough.
We've got home owners who are dying to upgrade because they need an extra bedroom. I mean, a guy a banker, he bought something in 2020, their dream home, but since then they had twins. They already had 2 kids, but they had twins since then, unexpected. And now
they need a bigger house.
They need one more room.
Yeah,
and they're like, we want to really bad. I mean, there's so many stories like this,
sense.
right?
That makes sense.
Now, how many more millionaires do you think there are now than there was in 2008?
Sure.
Right? And how many of those learned from 2008 and are setting themselves up to take advantage of the next any downturn?
A bunch.
Right?
Yeah.
There's so many more people that are prepared for if an Armageddon happens to take advantage of whatever happens in the housing market. There's nowhere near the inventory that we were back then or any worry. I mean, if we had an influx of inventory, there's that if the inventory did affect prices, people would come out the woodworks.
Yeah. I think you could be right. Yeah, I think you could be right.
So I think even if we see Armageddon, I don't see it affecting home prices too much.
Yeah,
that
we'll
we could see a little ebb and flow. Like last year, we saw a slight correction during the same time of year. Not COVID, when interest rates went up.
Oh, gotcha.
During the normal time of year in the fall when prices go down anyway. Okay. It went down a little more than normal.
I see.
Okay. A little more than normal, but it bounced right back and went back to all-time highs. I mean, we're down to the bottom of the barrel the way I see it for demand.
Based on the inventory, I think you're absolutely right. That's
well, listen, back in 2008, there were 4 million transactions, and now we're at 4 million. That was... How much worse do you think it can get? 2008? You think it can get worse than 2008 as far as demand?
Yeah.
The number of people that are buying homes?
I doubt it. Yeah.
There's no way. Yeah. When it gets down to the people that need to, there's nowhere else to go. You can't go any lower. Could it go down to 3.9 million? Maybe. 3.8? Maybe. But we're down somewhere close to where we're going to have that many transactions, right? So when you're down as low as demand can go and you have no inventory, even if inventory... spikes up a little bit.
I don't think the inventory is going to spike because I'll tell you, I know there's some statistics out there, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think we're like, in the next couple of years, we're 2 million short in housing units in general, not just housing,
and why
but
is that?
Places to live.
And why is that? Where are the 2 million people coming from?
I think it's population. I don't know.
33-year-olds.
You think it's
34-year-olds,
okay. All right,
35-year-olds, 36-year-olds, right? It's family formations.
Okay.
It's people that are moving out of their mom's house or they've got a roommate and they're tired of living with somebody, right? Or maybe they're renting and they are tired of rent going up every year.
Yeah.
And they want a fixed payment and they want to build equity.
Yep.
Right?
So, I enjoy talking to agents and brokers as well. And my whole push with them is, if you're just going to sell other people's property, you're only as good as your last sale. Okay. But if you want to build cash flow, you invest in real estate. You don't just sell real estate. I know you're doing that. You're obviously, you've bought a bunch of real estate and you're developing and you're buying. Do you agree with that framework where, you make the money selling the real estate, but then you use that money to go buy assets that cash flow? Yes?
Yeah, so most agents don't own real estate.
Right,
honestly,
which is
right?
crazy. And they're in
Yeah.
the perfect position to find the best deals.
Yeah. Well, they're so focused on, most of them come from a job and they're just trying to be successful.
Yeah.
They're just trying to make money.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a catch-22 because most agents' horizon is, I want to be the best in the area, or I want to make $1 million a year or something. They don't really think past that. That's kind of all they're focused on.
Yeah.
But they really kind of need to think past that and what am I going to do to get out of this?
Right.
Because this is a rat race.
Because it's a job. It's a freaking job, right?
It is. But that could also be a distraction to you becoming the best in the market, which you need to be, or making $1 million a year, because you need to make that so that you can invest in real estate. So it's a very fine line, really.
Interesting.
I was in the same boat where I was just trying to make $1 million a year as an agent. I mean, I bought a few properties just because I thought, let me buy a few properties, but I wasn't like all in. I wasn't thinking, oh, where's my next real estate deal? Where am I going to buy my next thing? I was focused on, how do I get another listing?
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, I think, I tell people, grind for a few years like most people won't. You live the rest of your life like most people can't, right?
Well, most agents say, oh, I love sales. I'm going to do sales forever. I said it too. Right. Until the day that you don't. When your client's calling you and you're cringing, when you see on the caller ID, oh, there's this $1 million house I'm going to go look at. And when you don't want to go see $1 million house to list, that's when you know that you should have put something in place. Right. So I watched 2 agents literally die making calls.
No kidding.
Yeah, they died from old age, and they were legends, just incredible people, and they they knew they were dying, right? They got the call, we got the call. And the next day, there they are in the office making calls. And I'm like, what's going on? Wow. Well, they're in there calling for sale by owners and expireds, trying to make as much as they can to leave their spouse as much as they can before they pass away. They make calls till 3 days before they die where they can't get out of bed.
Good God.
And pass away, making calls, calling for sale by owners and expireds.
Good
and
God.
that was such an eye-opening experience for me.
Yeah.
I that's when I was like, I'm not going to live like this. And that's when I started the coaching stuff, right? I was like, I got to have let me try to build this other business.
Sure.
And then, here recently, I flipped about 100 houses with 2 other partners. And I'm like, geez, if we'd have kept the best 30 of those, oh my gosh, we'd have been. So now when we flip, I'm doing one right now that we bought together.
Yeah.
And, we go in thirds and we fix it up and flip them. Well, I'm buying the other 2 guys out. Actually, one of the other guys.
So you're going to keep it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because it fits my buy box,
Perfect.
for what I'm buying and stuff. But to your point,
right.
Every agent needs to
start building an annuity.
You got to be thinking,
right?
I need to buy passive income because you just have a job, a really high paying job, but it's still a job that you have to go to every day. And you literally have the opportunity right there in the palm of your hand to build passive income where later on you can still do sales, but not because you have to. Right. And then eventually you won't want to, and you'll be in a position where you can just walk away.
Well, even those of you listening that don't do real estate, that have a job, and maybe you have a high income job. You have golden handcuffs. You've got a great big high paying W-2 job. You need to be investing in real estate, either passively, text the word partner to 72345. You want to invest passively with me, or actively, get your butt to one of my boot camps and learn how to do this actively, because otherwise every year you're just going to go back to work. January 1st, you start work again.
You don't have to do this.
Yeah. No, I do this because I love it, dude. No, I don't. I do this because I love it, man. I my first episodes, I just wanted to tell people about what happened to me in 2008 and 9, and how I'm a proponent for multifamily versus single family, just because of the way what happened to me. And
what did happen? What's your debate there?
I had 800 houses along the Gulf Coast of Florida here, from Newport Richey all the way down to Bonita Springs, but I was spread out over 2 hours in each direction. So logistically, it wasn't the greatest move. But I also had some apartment complexes, and I was only at a 30% loan to value in my whole portfolio, and I still crashed and burned. And here's why. If I had to send a maintenance guy to one of my apartment complexes. We stockpile all the parts. So they're in and out in an hour. Well, if I had to send them to a house that's an hour and a half away, every house is different. They got to go see what's wrong, go find a Home Depot or a Lowe's where we have an account, and it's all day. And these were C-class houses, older, a tougher demographic, tons of maintenance. So I never really cash flowed. Okay, even at 30% loan to value, I never cash flowed.
Right.
You know, and of course, Florida has no state income tax, higher property taxes.
Okay.
I had properties in wind and flood zones, higher insurance, all which impacts cash flow.
Yeah.
And you know, and then when it all imploded, and the last thing was I didn't pay attention to tenant demographics back then. I had a lot of contractors, plumbers, electricians, drywallers, painters, roofers that had good credit, paid a deposit. I assumed everything was great. Well, they had no work. So in 08 and 9, they couldn't pay their rent. And so it just crashed and burned. Now you want to hear something crazy. My portfolio went upside down. It actually dropped 70, a little over 70%. That's how much it crashed here. But that's why I crashed and burned. But my multifamily through all that pulled back about 11%. Could have easily survived.
Like value?
No.
Or rent.
Gross income. And could have easily survived if I hadn't cross-collateralized, thinking I was brilliant with packages of houses.
Right.
So I lost it all. But, you know, I started my podcast, 7-8 years ago, just to say, hey, if you're going to buy and hold, for God's sakes, you know, look at multifamily. Don't just do single family. And, you know, I used to say in my early episodes of my podcast, I'll never sell you anything, because I never planned to. I just wanted to add value. And now I'm a liar because I sell everything. But, you know, I wrote this book, you know, how to create lifetime cash flow through multifamily properties. And I still give it away. I give away tens of thousands of copies of it. You know, and then now I do coaching and courses, but I love it. I mean, I freaking love it. And I don't, you know, it's not about the money for me. I literally love it. I'm the lowest price by far out of anybody that does this, and half price in most cases for my coaching. And my boot camp was $200 for 3 days without a big sales pitch. It's like a no-brainer.
Right.
I mean, if you go to my social media and you see what people said about it, you know, they're raving about it. They're like, they couldn't believe they got all that value. Yeah. But, you know, like you do your stuff for free. I do my stuff for practically free, and you know, power moves.
I did a boot camp. I did a workshop. I charged $700 for it last year. I had 100 people. And people came in to Gulf Shores from all over. You know, I mean, I had to charge because the venue was
it's
X
expensive.
amount, and
it's expensive, man. But I had 1,000 people, you know, so I broke even on the venue and stuff. Yeah. And we did some VIP where they had dinner and they paid more, and so I broke even. But,
So before we go, because we've got limited time,
right?
You made the mistake with the single family back then. Now, after all that, knowing what you know now, do you feel like you could build the single family portfolio back a different way that's more protective?
Yeah, maybe like you're doing. If you've got them in a subdivision, they're brand new, but I would. The big thing that I wouldn't do it again, no, because I like multifamily. I'd rather do one transaction to get 50 units than buy 50 houses, one by one. Okay, it's just scale it's easier, and every house has its own insurance, has its own taxes. So from a cash flow standpoint, I like multifamily better. A whole lot of reasons I like it better, but we don't have to debate that.
Well,
now.
That's why I'm building a 48 unit.
And you said you're thinking about shifting to syndication and stuff.
My whole thing is multifamily. Like that's where I'm going. I'm buying these single families for a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I would do it for fun.
Yeah,
okay? I would do it for fun.
I'm doing it because I'm bored and I have cash sitting there, and I need to do something. Like I'm just doing it just to get some cash flow until these motherload deals come through. Right. You know,
and I think they're coming.
Yeah.
Well, listen, brother, I appreciate you coming down here. It's great to meet you. I mean, I know we both spoke at the WealthCon Ryan Panita's event and kind of crossed paths there, and you know, it's kind of a small world we're in. You know, a lot of speakers that bounce around. Brad Lee was there, and some people that I really enjoy. But Andy Elliott, just real rock stars in their respective spaces, and it was a lot of fun. But it's great to finally meet you, and I appreciate you coming down.
Thanks for having me, man. Enjoyed
it. Absolutely. Thank you. So one other quick thing. We encounter so many people that are frankly frustrated. You know, they're looking in the mirror and they're frustrated that they haven't been able to escape the rat race. They haven't been able to build cash flow to the point where they're able to have financial and time freedom with their families. You know, and maybe they see other people buying real estate and creating, you know, incredible cash flow, and they think, well, it's just scary. You know, buying apartments is intimidating. And I get it. See, that's why we created our Warrior Mentorship Program. They're our coaching students, and they've had extraordinary results. My students, I've been teaching about 5 years. grown upwards of 140,000 units now that we know of, right? And we feel like it's just getting going. Now we're looking to grow this group and really take it to the next level. And honestly believe that the greatest transfer of wealth could be upon us right now with this current economic environment. Everything's going on sale. So we're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework, really like a blueprint or a map, literally step by step. And then they're able to leverage our systems and our incredible network to raise money and equity, to find deals and close those deals and build partnerships, really nationwide. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more in our incredible network and take advantage of the unbelievable opportunities that are upon us, you can apply to my Warrior Mentorship Program by texting the word CRUSH to 72345, or you can go to mentorwithrod.com. And what we'll do is we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out and see if it's a fit. Now again, you can go to mentorwithrod.com or text the word CRUSH to 72345 to apply, and we will speak soon.